Welcome to episode 3 of Everything's Dumb, your new favorite podcast. I promise we'll stop numbering them soon. We just really want to let you know that we're super new at this, as if it wasn't completely evident otherwise. My name is Kate.
I'm Victoria.
And today our topic is about customer service. So dumb. If you ever plan on being a customer, or if you have to do customer service, if you have to service a customer, either way, I have tips for both of you, so please stick around. But first, I want to talk a little bit about why are we in LA? I mean, you alluded to it in some previous episodes that you were from Virginia. Mm-hmm. I am originally from Pennsylvania. Neither of us were born here, so what are we doing here?
I was born in Maryland, but I grew up in Virginia. I grew up outside of an extremely small town called Crozet, and Crozet is outside of Charlottesville. On
the outskirts of the outskirts.
Yes, exactly. My brother used to call it the middle of nowhere, which I think is pretty accurate. These days it's changed a lot. It's like Charlottesville, I think, was listed as the best place to live in America for a few years in a row, like 20 years ago. So the area has definitely been developed, and they've put in a lot of housing developments and stores and all this modern
gentrification.
Yeah. But when I lived there was like one little grocery store and a Dairy Queen and a library and 2 pizza spots. Whoa. And that was like Crozet. And then I lived outside of that. But now there are a lot more stores and stuff. Anyway, so I grew up there, and then I went to college in Richmond. And I thought it was so fun to be in a city, even though Richmond is like such a small city compared to LA. But I thought it was very exciting. And then I moved back to Charlottesville after college, and I felt very suffocated is a strong word. But I kind of got tired of seeing people around town that I had known since I was like 4 years old. And both of my parents worked at the University of Virginia. So I would constantly run into people who knew my parents and, people who went to school with me or my siblings. And I just felt like...
Too known.
Yeah, I just felt like I knew everyone in town, and I just felt like it was time to move on. So I wanted to move to New York or LA. And Virginia has really rough winters. So I was like, well, New York would be awesome. Like, that's my dream. But I knew that the winters in New York were also extremely rough. Yeah. Probably worse. Yeah. So I chose LA. I did not know how horrible the summers out here were. So Kate constantly hears me complain about the heat. It is May, and I'm sweating. But at least the winters aren't as bad. So I moved here because I wanted to get into acting. I wanted to live in a big city. I wanted to live close to the ocean, although I don't think I've been out to the beach in about 4 years. I also just wanted to get out of my hometown, And Charlottesville's a really nice place to live, and I have some childhood friends who still live there, and they have no plans to leave. Yeah. Like, they love it. And I don't blame them. It's not the kind of small town where you're like, if you never leave, there's like something wrong with you. It's not that kind of place.
Yeah.
Like, if you stay there and you want to live there, that's totally cool. It is absolutely beautiful. There's a lot of culture. There are a lot of fun things to do. But I just felt like it was a little too small for my liking.
You'd been there long enough.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, I moved to LA 9.5 years ago.
Wow. I can't believe I met you so soon after you moved out to LA.
Yeah, I got here in early December of 2015, and then I met you in, I think, April of 2016.
You were so fresh.
I was so fresh.
I didn't even realize.
Yeah.
I moved out here. So I grew up in Pennsylvania in a city, but a smaller city. It's called Williamsport. It's about 100,000 people or so. Yeah, I just always kind of felt that way about, I knew I wanted to live in a big city. I remember when we were little kids, like, we would always go to New York because it was so close. It was like a 5-hour drive to the city. And I remember my mom telling me when I was a kid, like, how I have 2 older brothers, and how each of us experienced going to New York for the first time. My oldest brother, Ed, was not impressed whatsoever. Like, big buildings, whatever, I don't care.
Oh my God, that's very Ed.
My second brother, John, who is a nature freak, absolutely hated it. Like, could get me out of the city as fast as you can. It was too loud. It was too many people. He, like, couldn't stand it. He hated it.
Too much concrete.
They took me there, and I could not get enough.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't want to leave. I just knew that from a child that I wanted to live in a big city. And I also did the same thing of New York or LA. This was, although when I was choosing colleges, I saw that as my earliest opportunity to get the hell out of there. And so I looked at colleges in New York or LA, and everything in New York was just so much more expensive. Like, yes, LA is very expensive, but the sprawl of it makes parts of it less expensive.
Yeah,
there's a lot more room. New York is, it's an island. There's just a defined space. Yes, there are some, like, suburbs and stuff that reach out, but, like, most of the schools and stuff would need to be in a specific spot. And those specific spots, because they're so limited, are just so much more expensive. So LA was actually the cheaper option. So I moved out to California. I actually moved to Ventura, which is about an hour north with no traffic, which means that it's about 7 hours north of Los Angeles.
Ventura is 7 hours north of LA with traffic.
It's about an hour with no traffic. So I moved up there, found a film school that I went to, and just wanted to do something in entertainment, either filmmaking or writing or something. I've done stand-up, but I knew whatever I needed, whatever I was going to do, even if it was just like working at a bank, I'd rather work at a bank in a big city and be able to have options of things to do than live somewhere out on the outskirts in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, at least on the weekends you can do something fun.
Exactly. So that's what brought us both to LA.
Yeah, my mom says that, I don't specifically remember this, but she said that when I was in high school and I was looking at colleges, I really wanted to go to NYU because I wanted to study acting or something to do with filmmaking. And I also wanted to go to school in New York. And she said I was looking at pictures online or like maybe even a brochure or something, because this was like back in the dark ages. And she said that I like ran my hand over the photo of NYU and I was just like, tall buildings. Because I grew up surrounded by like cow fields and horses and goats. And my high school was 2 stories, and I thought that was a big building. So, yeah, I clearly wanted to move to a city for a long time. And now that I'm in a city, I wish that I were a little closer to nature. But yeah, back, like, even now when I visit my hometown, I'm like, I love it here, but I don't know, 2 weeks is kind of the longest I can do.
We got some squirrels.
Yeah, that's true.
We need nature. We got squirrels.
We do have squirrels. We do have raccoons. There was a raccoon right outside my door last night. My cat had like a stare down with it. It was really cute.
Who won?
Well, so there's like, the raccoon was outside of my door, like on top of the building next door. And so Bobby was sitting at the front door, like staring up at it. And the raccoon was staring down at him like a gargoyle. And, I was like, wow, Bobby's being really brave. But then the raccoon came down off the building and came and started eating the food that I put out for the stray cat. And because it was a lot closer when it was eating the food, Bobby was like crouched down and then he started like backing away from the door. He acted like he was still being tough, like his back was up and stuff, but he was just inching backwards.
Why are you getting smaller?
Yeah.
I don't understand what's happening.
So the raccoon definitely won.
So as I mentioned earlier, today's topic is customer service. In my opinion, nothing makes you hate humanity quite like a customer service job.
Yeah, that's accurate.
I have had, I would say, mostly customer service jobs in my life.
Yeah.
It sucks to be considered a specialist at something that hurts your soul. But I guess I am. So when I was looking into the history of customer service, it started with ancient civilizations in Rome and Greece, where merchants realized that repeat customers were crucial to their survival in the sale and trade business. Back then, it was a very simple relationship of supply and demand. You had customers that needed things, you sold things, and as long as you were nice and maybe gave them a smile and perhaps remembered their name or something, it was very easy to get people to come back because they needed the things that you were selling and they couldn't go on Amazon to get it.
Right.
So it was a very simple exchange. Just I have the things that you want, that's it. The more modern version of customer service that we now know that curses all of us began during the Industrial Revolution, as all horrible things began.
Seriously.
So there were many more manufacturers. Manufacturing got much larger. It wasn't just, I'm going to the market with the things that I picked out of my field that day to sell. It was factories busting out like hundreds of products per day. And so there wasn't this one-on-one relationship anymore. It was going through different channels of all of these were produced by someone. Now they're being sold by another person. There's a specific person just to handle the customers. So Harry Gordon Selfridge was the founder of Selfridge's department store in London in 1909. And he was apparently the asshole that coined the phrase, the customer's always right.
Boo.
But we don't quite always say the full part of that phrase. The actual phrase is the customer's always right in matters of taste.
Okay.
Meaning that whatever the customer wants, if the customer prefers blue over green, then blue is better. Sure, yes, of course, whatever
Right.
you need, whatever your taste is, that's the right option because that's what you want, that's what we're going to give you. Unfortunately, this has been taken by white women and
The worst.
completely morphed into their own disgusting version of I get whatever I want, I can do whatever I want, and I am the king of this store. More on that later. He adopted his customer service approach from the Marshall Field's department store, which would later be acquired by Macy's.
Oh, okay.
Macy's. So all of these competing department stores all around the same time sort of realized that whoever was catering more to their customers was getting the better business. And that sort of, I'm sure, started out with great intentions. Mm-hmm. But as we all know, went way too far in the opposite direction.
Yep.
To where a complete stranger can come into an establishment and feel like they are entitled to everything at that establishment, no matter what. So part of the thing that is helping this, one of the worst inventions, came out in 2004 called Yelp, which not only enabled customers to be able to go into businesses and demand certain things, but let them go online later and write reviews. And this started the whole customer review algorithm that we now all are cursed to live in, where if one person has an issue, they can leave a poor review, which will take a store down in the rankings. It can make them less visible on searches. It can make Yelp started it. Amazon reviews do it. Any business that relies on customer reviews, which again is a great idea. I read customer reviews all the time when I'm going to make a purchase. A lot of them can be very helpful, but I've also seen the ones where you know that the person who left the review is an absolute idiot.
Yeah.
And yet their 1-star review counts just as much as everyone else's.
Yeah.
Everybody else understood how to work this product. Just because you are so stupid that you cannot figure it out doesn't mean that you then get to take away this company's ability to sell their product. It's so dumb.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can also tell when someone writes a bad review and they say that they had a horrible experience somewhere, it's really easy to tell when they were the problem.
Right.
So I wish that we as the community could like vote to say, I know that this review is bullshit, like this shouldn't count.
So we're going to review your review.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what needs to happen.
Well, sometimes the business can respond. Like I think on Yelp you can respond. I know on Amazon you can't.
Correct.
So that's stupid. Also, Google reviews, like, because I use Google Maps a lot, and when you type in a place, it automatically pops up the reviews. I don't know if they can respond on that or not, but I read a lot of Google reviews, and it's the same as Yelp and Amazon, where I'm like, some people are normal, intelligent human beings, and then some people are just fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And the one little bit of power they have in their life is that they can get online and write a terrible review to try to ruin someone else's day to make them feel better.
The worst part about reading those reviews is you can picture the person writing it.
Yeah.
And feeling so, take that, I'm going to get you. And it's so petty and so stupid.
Yeah.
And not to say that I've never written a poor review before.
Sure.
I've done that.
But you're not like a shallow, vindictive person.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't do it just because you felt bad about yourself.
Well, there's definitely points where you can be like, this wasn't about the muffin lady, right?
Right,
like, this
right.
Was something
That's
else
exactly what I mean. Yeah.
that happened in your life that you were going through that cannot be about the blueberry muffin. It can't. It physically can't.
I want to say it's not about the pasta, but you don't watch Vanderpump Rules, so you won't get that.
I don't.
So I won't say it.
I don't. Yeah, but I think that the part that bothers me so much about that is that we're basically like, you know, when I don't have children and I never want them, but you know, when you are training a toddler, you don't give in to the tantrums.
Right.
Like, that is the worst thing that you can do, is have the child screaming and crying and kicking and being like, okay, now we'll give you everything that you want because you caused a scene.
Because that's teaching them that that's the correct behavior to get what they want.
Exactly what modern customer service is doing.
Exactly.
If you go into a store and you say the word manager and you have a fucking fit in front of people, they will do anything to shut you up and calm you down.
But in reality, they should just tell you to leave.
Right. Well, some businesses, now I think because of smartphones, people are starting to record people.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't believe some of the... Like, people will fall down and be like, you pushed me! And now that they're getting recorded, they get so angry about it. But they're not able to get away with as much stuff with the business anymore. And you can tell, it's usually when it's a major chain that kind of stuff gets recorded. But in small businesses, like if it's a small mom and pop shop and something like that could really damage them, like, yeah, you're going to give them whatever they want. You're going to train these assholes to be assholier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
And so I have an idea that I think would be wonderful. I think every year we should pick one day to have our customer service version of a purge.
Okay.
So one day a year, every customer service representative gets to say exactly what they feel and do exactly what they think should be done to each customer. And I think the best thing about this is we're not going to tell you what day it is.
Oh my God. That's beautiful.
Go out into the world and act how you normally would. And one day, your barista will slam your cup down on the counter and tell you that you're a fucking cunt.
Yeah.
Like, that could happen in the purge.
Right.
I feel like it's necessary to reset. First of all, it would help release, like how the movie The Purge, it releases all the anger and everything.
Yeah.
But I think it would also help a lot of people wise up that they are not the regular repeat customer that they think that they are.
Yeah.
You are not beloved just because you go to a business every day.
Yeah, they think all the employees love them because when they walk in the door, people smile. Exactly. They have to smile.
That is
or else their manager tells them to adjust their attitude.
Paid to smile and told when we're not smiling that we need to smile more. Like, I think that a lot of people, because I used to work at food service places that people would come in every day and with a big smile on their face and blah, blah, blah. And we just had to put up with all of their bullshit because we knew it was coming. And it wasn't that, oh, yeah, it's the regular customer who always has to have this very specific way. And, oh, we have it ready for you. Oh, you guys are the best. Yeah, you're the worst, but we can't say that to your face.
Like, we hate you. And when I see you coming in the door, I groan.
Yes. And so my advice...
And then I have to fix my face before you see me.
My advice to awful customers, if you are an awful customer, you don't know it, but if you are an awful customer, you are discussed thoroughly by the staff of wherever you are going. And they're to a level that you wouldn't imagine. Like, you're not... When you work at a customer service job, the only thing you have to talk about are the customers, really. Like, oh, we got there's chocolate chip muffins instead of blueberry. Like, what? That's a 2-second.
Yeah.
But the customers are what you talk about at your job. And so when you have an awful customer, when someone comes in and is terrible, you discuss them all the time. You joke about them all the time. I have worked jobs where my partners and friends have been like, oh yeah, did Bobby come in yesterday? Like, they know their names. Like, you are discussed on such a level
Yeah.
that there are songs written about you by people. Like, we are always discussing you.
Yeah.
And so you just have to know that. When you go into a place regularly, you are discussed whether you are a good customer or a bad customer. And if you're a good customer, it's a very short conversation. Oh, God, I really like them.
Yeah.
Aren't they so sweet? And look, they tipped, and it's just great to see them whenever they come in. I'm so relieved that they're not this asshole.
Yeah.
And then that's a 45-minute conversation. Did you see the one time? Like, I just feel like people should know that employees at places aren't just ignoring you. They are clocking everything that you're doing.
Yeah.
And if you go in there enough, you are discussed. Mm-hmm. And it's up to you in what light you are discussed.
Right.
But you are discussed.
Yes, we discuss you during the shift, and then we go out together on our nights off and get drunk, and then we rage about you.
Yes, we do.
And when we see you out in public, we throw extremely hateful thoughts your way.
Yep.
Yeah.
There are blackened parts of my liver that I could name different customers.
Yeah, people who work in customer service aren't robots. Like, we are people with thoughts and feelings, and if you are rude to us, we hate you.
Yeah. And we voice that hatred many times. I can't tell you how many different customer service jobs I've worked at where the concept of a voodoo doll has been thrown out. Like, oh man, if only we could just, every time they think they're coming in for a coffee, if we could just, something in my neck, I can't go in. Yeah, that's a very real thing. So that's my advice to anyone who's a shitty customer. Anybody who has to deal with shitty customers, I have advice for you as well. This kind of only works for in-person. I've done, again, every kind of customer service job. I have been from a sales associate to a manager to an owner of a business to from, hospitality and food service to retail. In my opinion, retail's way easier. It's way better because people aren't on low blood sugar.
Yeah.
You're not going to necessarily bring them something that they didn't ask for. Like, you said you wanted the blue top. It's not that different.
Yeah, they're typically not on their lunch break in the middle of their workday and stressed and hungry and hangry.
Right.
And also, food service also just sucks because there's so much more cleaning. I know retail. I've worked retail, but you worked at like a clothing store, and I've never worked at a clothing store before. I know there's a lot of folding of things after the store closes, but with food service, as you know, it's so much cleaning.
Yeah.
And that just sucks when you just want to go home.
Absolutely.
And everything's covered in grease.
With every different type of customer service, I've done like the evolution of it too. I've done the in-person customer service. I've done the over-the-phone customer service. I know I do email customer service. Like, there's all the different levels. But I mean, in-person is obviously the worst because there's no barrier. There's no way. You can't just like stop it with a phone call. I've definitely like pulled the phone away from my face and like rolled my eyes. Like, you can like let a little bit out, but you really do have to be like performing and acting when you're in front of a person and pretending like everything that they say matters to you and you're not just waiting for them to leave. That's most of customer service, is actually
so accurate.
Pretending that they matter to you.
Yeah.
And not just shift is over in 20.
Yeah. And in your head just being like, please stop talking.
Yeah.
Oh, that was boring. Please don't say any more boring things. Please walk away.
Anytime you walk into a business, especially in the last half hour that it's open, and they go, hi, welcome, what they really want to say is, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Could you not?
Right.
Could you not? Could you just leave? Could you not? But yes, so with every different type of customer service, my advice really only works on a level of in-person customer service because you do have to be able to see the person.
Okay.
But anytime that I had a truly horrible customer service interaction, I would always look to see if they have a wedding ring on.
Oh.
And most of the time, they did.
Oh.
And as soon as I saw that wedding ring, it made me feel so much better about the interaction. Because my reasoning was that this person speaking to me, this interaction that I'm having, at most lasts, 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Which is a long time to be screamed at. But at the most, it's 10 minutes of my entire life. Like, once this person leaves, hopefully I never have to deal with them ever again.
I already know what you're going to say, and I feel
for
bad.
the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And in my whole life, which I'm a baby, like we are children.
We're so young.
But even in my whole life, even in my early 20s or my teenage years when I was doing customer service, 10 minutes in the pie of my whole life, a sliver of that is 10. It's so small. It's such a small, insignificant amount of my life that I would have to put up with this person. And seeing that wedding ring made me realize that there is some poor bastard out there that wakes up every single morning and rolls over and has to deal with this bitch.
Yeah.
Every day until they die. And there goes the plane. Every day. Somebody has to do the amount of their life that they have promised to dealing with this stupid screaming bitch is so much larger. And the fact that I'm not that person, that I'm just here to sit and take everything that they're screaming at me and smile and apologize and then watch them walk out the door, and then that's it. And I don't have to do anything else other than that ever. I never have to deal with that again. And then they're going to go home and talk about me to their person that has to listen to their stupid voice for the rest of their lives. So that's my advice to you if you do customer service, is just keep in perspective the fact that they are just there for a moment and then they're not. And hopefully they never come back, which is my favorite threat from a horrible customer.
Seriously.
I'm never coming back here. Promise?
Yeah.
Can I get that in writing?
Yeah.
Please.
Like, great. That's the best news I've heard all day. You think that's a threat?
Literally the best thing
Thank
you could have said at the end of this conversation is that. If you would have been like, I'll be back tomorrow to talk to you. No. How do what? Do I have to spit in your face? How do I get you to never come back? Never do this again.
Yeah, they think that it'll devastate us, but really it's like fireworks inside.
Do you understand that I get paid minimum wage?
Right.
And if you never come back, I get paid minimum wage.
Right.
And if you come back every day and spend millions of dollars, I get paid minimum wage.
Yeah.
So go.
Right.
Please. Please go. Please go.
Well, it's always the people
Stick
who
around.
think...
Sorry, no. So my question for you, my co-host, and for everyone listening, what is the worst customer experience that you've ever had? In either direction. It could be you receiving the customer experience that is horrible. It could be you giving customer service to someone that is being horrible.
Yeah.
I want to hear it all.
Have you heard of... I don't really want to tell a story, but
Did you hire an escort?
I'm going to.
Okay.
No, I did not. I'm already full of regret. I shouldn't have brought this up.
You can pick a different one.
No, I'm going to tell it.
Okay.
Fuck it. Because it is a good story.
Okay.
Okay, so I worked at a poke shop a long time ago. Poke is like, sushi bowls. So it's like a fast casual spot. It's like similar to like Chipotle. I think we closed at like 8:30, and these two girls came in at 8:20. And there was an indoor like dining room, and then we had a few tables outside as well. And we had already chained up the tables and chairs outside because we left them outside overnight, but like we chained them up so people wouldn't steal them. And we were already starting to wrap up some of the food, and we were like wiping things down, and then these two young women came in, and I think we told them that we were about to close, but even if we didn't, it was like extremely obvious. Like we had already turned off half of the lights and we had already started cleaning up, but we were still open. So they came in and we like took their order.
Legally have to care for them.
Yeah. And we actually had like a really nice conversation. I think one of them lived in LA, and then one of them was her sister and she was visiting. So we had like a nice chat about like what to do when you're visiting LA, and it was like a really friendly, nice interaction. But by the time we rang them up, it was like 8:28 or something like that.
Yeah.
And so This place, and this was not the manager's fault, this was the owner's fault, but this place, like, the manager would leave at, like, I don't know, like 6 o'clock. And so then it was just two, like, minimum wage employees, like, working for the rest of the shift, and then also cleaning and closing up and locking up. So it was me and another coworker and no manager on site. And so they went outside, and I thought that they were leaving with their food that I think I even put it in a bag, like, to go. And then they saw that the tables were chained up outside, and then they came back and were like, oh, we wanted to sit outside. And we're like, oh, we're closing in, 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. And then, like, from 0 to 1,000, they just started screaming.
What?
Like, out of nowhere. It wasn't even, like, a back and forth that kind of slowly got,
escalated.
Heated.
Yeah.
It was like, I want to eat outside. Oh, I'm sorry, we're about to close. And then, like, screaming. Like, right off. And I was just like, what? And because I'm just not that kind of person, I would never scream at someone.
Yeah.
So when someone screams at me, I'm just like, what is happening in your brain? Like, what just snapped? Like, it's so confusing to me that you would talk to someone like that. So they started screaming about how they never would have bought food if they knew we were about to close, and how dare we sell them food if they can't eat it there. And I was like, well, we did put your food in, like, a to-go container, like, we are visibly, and I might have told them we were about to close, because I think part of my argument was, we told you we were, well, yeah. Whatever. The point is, they just flew off the handle, and then they started yelling to us about how they wanted a refund. So I think we were going to refund them, but we needed, like, a manager's permission, or something happened where we had to call a manager. And the manager who had worked that evening, I called him, and I was, like, kind of panicking because I had, like, a lot of adrenaline in my system from being, like, screamed
2 minutes before closing.
Yeah, like, in my face, like, these two girls, like, screaming at me. So I was, like, a little nervous. So I just picked up my phone and, like, called him, and I'm sure, like, my hands were shaking, and I didn't really, it was, like, loud because they were yelling, and I tried to, like, go into the back room to be able to hear him, and I explained what happened, and it was so loud that I could barely hear what he was saying, and he was kind of like, okay, I'll deal with it, or something like that. And then he was like, I'll call the store, something like, I don't know. He, like, got me off the phone, and I was like, okay. And then a minute later, I looked at my phone, and someone from that number, who I thought was the manager of the store, had sent me a dick pic. And I was like, what? This is not what we're doing right now. What? Like, we're in the middle of, like, what is happening? Yeah. So, I mean, this was a long time ago, so I'm a little fuzzy on the details, but I think I ended up calling the, like, head manager, like, the general manager of all the stores, and telling him what was happening. I don't know. And then the women, like, we somehow just got them to leave. Like, I think we gave them refunds. Maybe we weren't supposed to. I don't know.
Like a spray bottle?
Well, somehow they just were so pissed. I do think we refunded their stuff, and then they just left. And they left their food behind, which was great. So I ate that for dinner. I took it home with me.
Very nice.
But yeah, that... And then it was a whole... I can't believe you don't know this story. It was a whole debacle where, like, I had to tell the manager what had happened. And then he called the manager of the store and, like, kind of yelled at him for sending a photo like that to an employee. And the manager was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, I did not talk to her yesterday. I would never send a photo like that. Like, I have no idea. And then he was like, wait, can you confirm with her which phone number it was? Because I recently changed my phone number.
Oh, my God.
And this dude who has my old number has been sending pictures. Like, he's been, like, fucking with people, like, texting them back, like, terrible things. He's like, this guy is, like, fucking with my life.
Oh, my God.
So the head manager called me and asked for the phone number, and I gave it to him, and he's like, yeah, that wasn't him. That was some guy on his old number. So it was so... embarrassing. And then the manager called, like, the manager who I thought had sent me the photo, like, called me to talk to me about it, just to, like, clear the air. And I felt so bad. I was like sobbing on the phone and I was like, I'm so sorry. And I was like, I was so shocked because I didn't think that you would ever do something
Right.
like that. But it was your phone number. Like, I didn't know,
Yeah.
it didn't even occur to me that it was like probably the worst conversation of my life. But he did bring it up to me like 6 months ago. We were laughing about it. So I think maybe he's forgiven me.
Oh my God.
But that was,
I can't top that. Jesus.
I can't believe you don't know that story.
Oh my God.
But yeah, so that was a horrible customer service experience that like spiraled way out of control.
Yeah.
And I remember because
And the customers weren't even the worst part of that story.
No,
Like,
they
the
weren't.
Screaming customers weren't even the worst
They
part
weren't.
of that story.
because I was like absolutely panicking that these people were just and it wasn't loud, stern talking. It
Right.
wasn't even yelling. It was like screaming to the point where I was like, their throats are going to be sore tomorrow.
I think I remember
Like that kind of screaming.
I think it might. I do remember where you worked. Could you name the city?
Beverly Hills.
There we go.
It was indeed in
There
Beverly
we go.
Hills. Yeah.
The context. Is
Yeah.
everything
Yes.
for that story.
Yeah.
Somehow these women just lost their fucking Beverly
They
Hills.
lost their minds. So
Beverly
I
Hills.
was already like just in shock because of that. And
Were
then
they screaming, but their faces wouldn't move from all the Botox?
yeah, their faces got like pretty red.
Yeah.
But and there was a lot of like pointing. And I was just like, I don't know, like, and at that job I did make minimum wage and the shifts were only like 4 or 5 hours long. So I was
There for like
not making any
40
money.
bucks that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, by the time I clock out, I'll make maybe $47. So this is literally not worth my time. And then I called the manager for help and I got like fucking sexually harassed over the phone.
Unsolicited dick pic.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that
Wow.
was awful.
Wow.
That was really, really bad.
It does suck to be the one that's being screamed at. To be a manager, though, yeah. I remember when we worked at the restaurant together, and
Yeah.
someone came over to me. Well, someone came into the back and said someone wants to talk to a manager, and of course, the first question is it a white woman?
Oh my God,
Of course
the
it is.
nightmare.
Of course it is. So I go over and talk to this woman, and she starts talking to me about how, I honestly don't even remember the name of the employee at this point, but how someone was very rude. He threw my sandwich at me and didn't even say anything. And I just went, oh, I'm so sorry, but I'm going to go talk to him right now. And I ushered her out of the store as quickly as possible.
Get out.
And then I went over to the employee and I just said, well, what happened? And he's like, I don't know. I set her sandwich down and I said, here you go. She must not have heard me. And I was like, that sounds about right. I had had that happen a couple of times when I worked at the Gap. Again, I was a manager there and same thing. Someone came over told me about one of our nicest employees being rude to her.
Right.
And I went, oh, okay. And I went over and she was like, yeah, he blah, 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 he helped this person and I was next and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, okay. And then as soon as she left, he was like, I didn't see her. And I was like, yeah, okay. Like, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
There's always a good explanation when it's a good employee and
Right.
some awful just... Because, like, he was the only employee working at that time. You think if he was that rude, I would have gotten one complaint the entire
Right.
time I'd ever worked with him. I got one. No, you're an idiot. Something else is going on at home. Go deal with it. I feel like this could be episode 1 of 12 about customer service.
It's just the attitude and the
Entitlement.
Yeah, the entitlement.
The I'm better than you because I'm in here spending money and you're just making minimum wage and...
Right. Where working a non-minimum wage job does not make you a better person.
No.
And the fact that you go into a business that only pays its employees minimum wage and then you treat those employees like shit,
Yeah.
that automatically makes you a worse person.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's another thing about doing customer service in LA is that we all take note when a celebrity
Yeah.
comes in, and you can tell a lot about what type of a person
Yep.
someone is by how they treat someone who hands them their food or shows them where to find the shirt in the size that they need or something like that. If someone is rude to a customer service person or a server or anything, it's a huge red flag for who they are as a person because it takes no effort to just be a normal, nice human being.
Yeah.
And then some people are awesome. I've met so many celebrities doing customer service in LA that I'm like, Bill Nye is fucking awesome. He is exactly who he seems like he would be in real life. He is just a hyper fun version of that. He
I
is
would
so
love
great.
to meet Bill Nye.
Like, I've seen him multiple times, always great. I know we always trade stories about that kind of stuff too. Like anybody that works in customer service.
Oh, yeah.
In LA, always trade stories about celebrities, which makes it weird to me that celebrities are sometimes still awful in public because that travels.
It travels so quickly.
Fast.
And when people say like, oh, well, maybe they were having a bad day, I'm like, I can't imagine, even in my worst mood, I can't imagine. Like, you don't have to be overly friendly. You don't have to tell your life story. But if you're ordering a sandwich or whatever, or like checking out at the grocery store, even if you're having a horrible day, you can still be polite.
Right.
You can still say please and thank you. You can still, like, be respectful. You don't have to go over the top friendly if you're, like, trying not to cry.
Right.
But, like, don't lash out at people.
When you walk into a store and someone says, hi, how are you? You don't have to answer honestly. You can just say, good, how are you? That's, like... I've walked into so many stores in an awful mood, having an awful day, trying to buy something to fix some issue that's happening that I'm frantic at. Good, thank you, how are you? Like, all it takes, you don't have to mean it. You just have to say the words and not be a dick. And that shouldn't be difficult.
Yeah.
But sometimes it is.
Apparently.
For some people.
Yeah, if I were famous, I would really put in the extra effort to be nice because I would know that people are watching and people are going to talk about me. Mm-hmm. So if I was having a bad day, I would do everything I could to try to hide it.
Well, or disguise
or at least
yourself.
try to
go out in disguise.
There you go.
Full face of prosthetics and go out and be the dick you want to be, I guess. I don't know. For our closing segment today, we have mind-blowing shit.
Ooh.
This is where we're going to dive a little bit into something that just blows our minds.
Okay.
So my mind-blowing shit today, something that I think about a lot. I feel like I saw an Instagram video that explained this at some point, and I have thought about it too many times, too many days. But it's another good perspective thing.
Okay.
You know, like how we were talking about the awful customers with the wedding rings. Mm-hmm. This is another perspective thing. So here's my mind-blowing shit. Earth. You're familiar?
I've heard of it.
Yeah. So that is where we live.
Yes.
It is the planet that we reside on. And when we think of Earth, we have a very distinct visual. When you think about life on planet Earth, you kind of have an idea of what that entails. Mm-hmm. And most of what you're thinking of is like stuff on the land, because that's where we live.
Elephants.
Yes. The jungle, the desert, the rainforest.
The woods.
The woods, everything. There's so much life. There's so much going on Earth.
Yes.
But that is not really what most of Earth is. So we do know that the planet is 71% oceans, right? So I guess when you think of Earth, you can also think of the ocean. You think of like fish and sharks and whales and stuff like that.
71% is crazy high.
71%.
Okay.
Oceans. But that is still not what Earth is. The things that we think about when we think of the oceans, that's still not even... So 90% of the ocean, so 70% of the Earth is ocean. 90% of that ocean is what's called the aphotic area, which is a space where light cannot reach. So we're talking the depths of the oceans. It's about 1,000 meters deep is where this starts, which I don't know the metric system, so I don't even know how far that is. But 1,000 meters deep
is that where... a kilometer?
Sure.
Okay.
That's where light cannot get to.
Oh, because photo means light. And A means no.
Not.
No light.
Not light.
Not light.
90% of the ocean is this.
90%?
90% of the ocean. So 90% of the largest part of our planet is in total darkness. So basically, when we think about our planet, all of the life and all of the things that we think about isn't what most of our planet is.
That's scary.
It'd be like thinking about Target and just thinking about like the outdoors section.
Oh god.
And like that's what Target is. It's
Yeah.
just outdoor stuff. And it's no, there's so much more.
So much makeup.
So when we think about our planet,
Yeah.
the image that we get in our minds of like what life on Earth is and what it's not even real. That's not even what most of the planet is. If some other being was able to look at our Earth and the makeup of it, most of the shit would be in this dark abyss of the ocean. That's where most of the life is. That's where most of the planet, that's what most of our planet is.
Is that where the freaky things live?
Yes.
Like the clear
Yes.
fish
That like light up and like
Yeah.
the actual, they look like aliens. Every time that we discover something new down there, it looks like an alien.
Yeah.
And here we are trying to blast off into space with our penis-shaped rockets. And we don't even really know the planet that like we're trying to find other inhabitable planets. We don't even actually know our
Right.
planet. And what we think of when everyone thinks, whatever human thinks of when they think about our planet is not accurate. It's not the full picture. It's not the actual what most of the planet is.
So all of
That
the
blows my mind.
Yeah, all of the sharks and whales and dolphins and fish, like all of the million different kinds of fish, all of that just fits into 10% of what lives in the ocean.
Well, we don't know. We don't know like what all lives in this depth.
But that's the 90%.
That's the 90% of it.
Oh, that's freaky.
Isn't that crazy? Doesn't that blow your mind?
It does. I did not know. Yeah, I mean, I knew that freaky looking things lived way down deep, but I did not know that it was
That's what most of our
90%.
planet is.
I didn't know that. That makes
Isn't
me
that
feel really
crazy?
strange.
There could
Yeah.
be more of those freaky things than any other creature on the planet, and they're really what comprises most of the life on the planet, and we don't even know. And we're just up here thinking we know everything and putting up buildings and trying to blast off to other planets. We don't even know what is in our planet.
It's so hard to explore down there, though, because of the water pressure.
Yes.
Have you seen photos of the things that James Cameron went down in?
I think so. Yes.
He went down in this, like, cylindrical thing. I saw it at the... What's that museum down by UCLA? Nope. Down by USC. I'm going to call it the Los Angeles Museum of Natural History.
Sure.
We're going to pretend that that's what it's called.
Okay.
It's by the soccer stadium. Anyway, they had an exhibit there a few years ago where they had the actual capsule thing that he went down in.
Did it smell?
Well, I didn't go inside of it.
Okay.
It is tiny.
I'd have taken a whiff.
It's so little. And he, when he was inside of it, was like totally crouched. Like his knees were like by his face. And I
Some yoga.
am very claustrophobic. And just looking at it made me a little panicky.
Yeah.
Like I needed to like step out of the tent that it was in to get some fresh air. Because I was like, I can't believe that he got in that thing to begin with. And then he voluntarily like went down into the depths of the, like that's insane behavior to me.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is that things like drones are now able to help map the ocean floor. So we are getting better images of stuff like that, but still some of it is so I don't man. Our planet's crazy.
It is.
All right, thank you so much for listening. That was our episode for today. Next episode we're going to be talking about Hollywood remakes and reboots.
Yay!
Which Victoria has a lot to say.
I sure do.
Thank you for listening and watching. You can catch more audio episodes wherever you find podcasts, or video episodes are up on YouTube. Please subscribe and leave us a review. We really, really need that kind of stuff right now. And you can follow us at Everything's Dumb Pod on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. I don't know if we're doing anything on Twitch, but if you have a dumb topic that you want us to talk about, we would love to hear from you. Please reach out to us through any of those platforms, and maybe we will turn it into an episode one day.
Yes.
So thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
Stay sane out there.
Bye.